Well, hello and welcome. Good evening and welcome everyone to this live telephone town hall meeting we have for you tonight with Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative, or SVEC. Again, hello and welcome. You're live on the line with SVEC for our member telephone town hall meeting. We do these calls as a way to reach out to you and open up the conversation, and we want to hear from you. So if you'd like to join our meeting tonight with your question, comment, or concern, just press 0 on the keypad on your phone. Again, to get in line with your question, please press 0 on the keypad on your phone. We'll be taking questions live during our event tonight, but if you'd rather not go live, that's fine. Still press 0 to get your question in line, and just let your operator know you'd rather not go live. I'd be happy to read your question over the air. One note tonight I do have to say about questions on a large public forum like this. We're not going to be able to take account-specific questions during this call. So if you do have a question specific to your account or your service location, please give us a call during regular business hours. The phone number is 1-800-234-7832. But again, if you have general questions for your co-op, please press 0 to submit those. Again, good evening and welcome. If you're just joining the call, you're live on the line with SVEC for our member meeting. And right now we're dialing out to all of our members tonight, so bear with me as I go through this introduction a couple of times. We'll get started officially here in just a few moments. Again, if you're just joining, you're live on the line tonight with SVEC, and we have our president and CEO, Greg Rogers, standing by to answer your questions. Tonight, we'll start off by talking about the winter and how that relates to billing and rates and what we're doing to keep the electricity flowing. And then we'll get right to your questions. So again, to get in line with your question tonight, during our member telephone town hall meeting, please press 0 on the keypad on your phone. Now, as we continue dialing out to our members, I want to take this moment to let everyone know that SVEC has issued a Beat the Peak alert for 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, December 6th. This Beat the Peak program is a program that notifies members when their forecasts for extreme temperatures are also known as peak times. Now, peak occurs when the demand and cost for electricity is the highest. So this is just a way to encourage everyone to conserve energy during times when electricity is expected to be in the most demand. Now, when you receive an alert, you're encouraged to adjust your thermostat, lighting, and to shift the time you use those large appliances in an effort to hold down the demand for power. And in turn, here's the bonus. You'll save money by decreasing your power usage, and the cooperative will better be able to manage costs by limiting how much additional energy we need to purchase during the peak. So to sign up for these alerts, go to svec.coop. So that's a great way. That's, again, the Beat the Peak program. And SVEC has issued a Beat the Peak alert for tomorrow, Friday, December 6th, from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning. So again, if you are just joining, we are so glad here. We'll get started officially in just about 1 minute. Last time here, I just want to run through some housekeeping events. If you are just joining, you're live on the line for our SVEC member meeting. We are so glad you're here. Thanks for your patience as we do continue dialing out to all of our members tonight. We will get right to your questions after we hear a little bit at the beginning from our president and CEO, Greg Rogers. So to submit your question, just press 0 on the keypad on your phone. Now, in a large public forum like this, we are not able to take account-specific questions during a large public forum. So if you do have a question specific to your account or service location, we still want it. Please give us a call during regular business hours. I'll give you the best phone number. That's 1-800-234-7832. But again, if you have a general question about your co-op, just press 0 on the keypad on your phone and we'll get your question in line. But with that, it is now my pleasure to officially kick off our meeting. I'm going to turn this over to our SVEC Board Vice Chair, Todd Van Horn. Sir, please take it away.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Todd Van Horn, the Vice Chair of SVEC's Board of Directors. Due to a scheduling conflict, I'm filling in for our board chair, Jerry Doffelmeyer, this evening. I hope you all enjoy Thanksgiving celebrations with loved ones, and I am thankful for our SBEC members, especially those who are active on the call tonight. Your participation in these town hall events help us to better serve our community. We are glad you are listening tonight, and we'll look forward to answering your questions later on this call. As we head into the season of giving, provide safe and reliable service at the best possible value remains our priority. We cannot do this without our members. Thank you, and please stay on the line for our President and CEO, Greg Rogers.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Vice Chair Van Horn. As a reminder to everyone, just press 0 to ask a question this evening. And again, as a reminder, we cannot take account-specific questions during a live public forum like this. For more information about your cooperative and to stay up to date on everything that's going on, you can always visit svec.coop. That's svec.coop. And now, before we get to your questions, let's bring in President and CEO Greg Rogers. Sir, please take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope you've had an opportunity to celebrate Thanksgiving with family and friends. And as we head further into the holidays, I hope you can get safely to where you need to go to spend time with those closest to you. I'm glad we get to finish the year with one of these town halls because wintertime always presents unique challenges for a utility like SVEC, from educating our members on a personal level to system maintenance across our service territory. Before we get to your questions, I want to share a few thoughts that are appropriate to the weather season that we're in. As a reminder, please press 0 to be put into the queue to ask a question. For starters, we know winter months bring higher bills than usual, and this prompts many calls and questions to our member service representatives who are always happy to review your energy consumption and get to the bottom of it for you. Generally, the answer is as simple as the weather. Extremely low temperatures will cause your electric heating system to work harder to keep you warm. This increase in consumption leads to higher bills. SVEC does not charge higher rates in the wintertime that would cause your bill to go up. If you have a specific account-related question, please do not ask them this evening. Give us a call during business hours, and again, we will have a member service rep who are experts in helping walk through your home's use. On a related note, please exercise the use of space heaters with caution. Not only does that mean using them safely, being sure they are off and unplugged when not in use, but also using them efficiently. One of the common causes for higher wintertime bills is prolonged use of space heaters. They're not designed to heat the entire room. They're designed to heat the people. Space heaters will keep you warm in a very specific spot in a room. Please try to remember that as you might look to space heaters as an additional heating source this winter. Another challenge is keeping the electricity flowing so you can keep warm. This is where our efforts throughout the year benefit everyone. We have a dedicated vegetation management department that oversees a year-round effort to keep our right-of-ways clear from such problems as snow or ice-covered tree limbs. Some of you may have seen our aerial saw in action, which is one very visible and effective tactic that we employ to keep our right-of-ways clear. As new technologies continue to emerge, such as drones and satellite imagery, we will bring those into the fold as deemed appropriate, whether it be for vegetation management or the surveillance of our lines to identify locations where problems exist or could form. Please know our crews work 24/7 and are ready for whatever challenges Mother Nature wishes to bring at us this season. Again, if you have a question for this town hall, press 0 to be placed in line to come on the air to ask. In closing, I want to recognize our 10 linemen who went to Western North Carolina to help restore service after Hurricane Helene in October. And I thank all our employees who first helped to get the lights back on here in the valley before aid was needed elsewhere. We've all seen the pictures and read the news coverage about just how devastating Helene was. And no matter how much we prepare, there are no assurances that we will be spared from the same type of major damage in the future. Our employees truly are first responders, both at home and for other cooperatives. I am thankful for them, and I hope the next time you see them in your area, you can extend the same appreciation for continuously getting the job done, sometimes in the face of extraordinary circumstances. Now let's see what kind of questions you have this evening.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, let's start us off. We have Arlene before Cynthia. Another reminder, press 0, just like Arlene did. Arlene, you're our first live question of the evening, and Shenandoah, please go ahead.
Hi.
Arlene, are you there? You may go ahead. You're live.
Good evening. My question is this. This has been going on. I've lived here for over 20 years in this house. My question is, why is my electric shutting off random days, random times, and then turning back on a couple of seconds later and zapping my TV off, my clocks and all that stuff? Something's going to get affected by this, even though I have surge protectors plugged up. But I lost an air conditioner a couple of years ago because of this. They fried the component inside the air conditioner. So
Thank you for that question, Arlene. That's actually a really good question. We get asked a lot. Our protective system on our system has devices out on the line. We call them reclosers. They're designed to open up the line for a temporary fault, like an animal or a small tree limb on the line. It's designed to open the line up, allow that fault to clear itself, and then put the line back in to prevent an extended outage that would require somebody to come out and be, instead of a couple seconds long, a long period of time. So a lot of times you'll see those on fall mornings with blue sky, and those are usually animals getting into it. You can also see them when the wind gets up like it did today, blowing small tree limbs into the line and the line clearing. If you do have ones that happen repeatedly over short periods of time, you can call us on those, because that may be a problem that is indicating a problem that may occur imminently for a longer outage, and we can check those out. But if it happens on just random days and sporadically, those are designed to maintain our lines and keep you in power longer and not have you be out for extended periods of time. Thank you for the question.
Yes, great explanation. Thank you so much, Arlene, for joining our conversation. Let's go right away to Cynthia before Colton and Christopher. Cynthia asked that I read her question. She's in Winchester and says, what incentives for solar are being offered? And again, that's from Cynthia.
Thank you for your question, Cynthia. As the distribution cooperative, we basically are responsible for making sure that any of our members who are interested in solar are able to interconnect to our system. There is a process that we go through to make sure that interconnection is done safely. There are currently no monetary incentives that we can offer, other than the fact that the rate structure is set up to provide some benefit to anybody who does rooftop solar, based on their usage and the output of their solar. But there are no physical incentives that are provided to solar. We just help work with our members to make sure that they get their systems connected and utilize them and enjoy them to their benefit.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Let's go right away to Colton next. Colton, you're live right now. Please go ahead with your question.
So I had a question. If there was a way that we could get some sort of compensation for landowners that foot the bill on the property that distribution lines are on, because there's easements on these properties and there's distances that we're not allowed to do certain things with the property that we pay for and pay the property tax on. I was wondering if there's, some sort of incentive or some sort of program that can help take care of the people that provide the land to distribute the power to the customers.
Thank you for your question. No, currently, as a cooperative, all of our members band together. There's not many landowners that are out there that are cooperative members that don't end up with some type of distribution line on them. So it's really a shared expense. If you would go through and basically add that component into the bills, then the entirety of the bills, including the people that are landowners, would end up increasing. So we use the cooperative principle, and basically everybody is sharing at that point in that regard, and so we don't have any incentives for right-of-way being given across the landowner. It's kind of part of the process of being a cooperative member is to have that as part of it. Thank you. Good question, but that's how our model handles that.
Thanks so much, Colton, for joining our conversation. We have Christopher up next before Samuel and Jeff. We have great participation tonight. Let's just keep going through here. Christopher in Fort Valley, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I live in Fort Valley. My property has electric line coming up to a pole that services my house, and then there's a T that goes to the neighboring property. Last year they did their typical kill off of vegetation to ensure that it didn't grow, above the lines. However, there were some fair-sized trees that, even though they're short, kind of an eyesore. Is that a responsibility of Shenandoah Valley Electric to come back and cut those trees back to clear that out, or is that landowner responsibility?
Okay, good question. Basically, we have we conjunction our spray, which is what you were describing, with our clearing, and they happen in what we call cycles. So they would happen, spray happens, and then we go out and we do the clearing. So it would be multiple years before we would come back to actually do the clearing. If the species of that tree was deemed to be one that would be appropriate for underneath the power line, in other words, it doesn't grow tall, more like a yard tree type, then we would not cut that. And if the landowner would want to do that, then we would want to cut that. Yeah, and also. If you have any trees that are anywhere above just ground level, the height you can reach them to, you'll want to call us because safety is paramount, and we have seen people reach up with pole saws and other things and not realize where they have them and get them up into the line. So it's easy. If you have a question like that, just give us a call and we'll come out and take a look at it. But for the most part, we keep our right-of-way on a cycle between spray and cut, and but we do not have to come and cut those trees that would not grow up into the line. We help save the members money by not cutting trees that we do not need to. But if you have any questions, please call us because it is a safety factor as far as making sure that you stay away from the energized lines when any kind of clearing is done.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that answer. Great question, Christopher. Thanks for joining our conversation. Let's go to Samuel before Jeff. Karen, Laura, excellent participation. Samuel and Stanley, you're live. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Like I said earlier, I've been with co-op a couple different times, and in the previous years, I was in Mount Crawford, and my concern is, why do they tend to pay people come out, even just ride by and do a computer automated survey of your usage for your wattage and everything that you use for electricity, when I lived there, we did like a month, 3 months at a time. You went out and did a reading, and at the end of the 3 months, month, whatever it was, you did another reading and turned it in each time you paid your bill to save the customer money. And then now, like I said, they don't do that anymore. And then the other thing is, why do they not implement something like when I was with Virginia Power, they would do like from November to January, February, March, and let you know that they're going to do an audit for those months and give you an option to cut your bill and average your bill out yearly and put you on a budget plan. And they wasn't even a co-op at the time when I lived in Rockingham County, on the northern end of Rockingham County at the time, and it cut your bill tremendously. So, I mean, why don't the co-op like follow suit and do these things to help the customer out in bad times and crisis, as far as like right now? I mean, a lot of people are going through a crisis where they can't pay their bills and everything, and they're budgeting tighter than they ever did before. And that's my...
Okay, thank you for that question. I'll answer the second part first. We do have several options for levelized pay, and to know what those options are, it's easiest to call in and have someone basically speak to someone about what those options are. That helps spread out that bill over and cuts down some of the peakiness of the bills that might occur as you get into heating and cooling seasons. To answer the first question, yes, our metering system now, mainly to operate an electric system in today's age, you have to have a lot more data in order to be able to monitor that. So the days of getting a physical meter reading, while I love the concept of being able to save members money, that actually is saving members money in a lot of different ways. And actually, on that same call-in where you call and talk to us about whatever the levelized payment options are, we have a lot more information available now as to your usage and can give people a lot more pointers based on the fact that we have very detailed information available that might help us identify, we've identified bad water heaters and other things like that just from the spike in usage that would occur that maybe wasn't explained by family members visiting or something like that. We don't know what happens, but we can help explain to you when it spiked, and maybe your knowledge of how you've been utilizing it would help solve the problem. So that is available mainly because of the advanced metering systems that we have now, in addition to many other benefits that we experience in operating the grid from having that additional information out there. But good question, and always looking for ways that we can help keep costs down. That's, we want safe, reliable, but also, very importantly, affordable electricity here at the co-op.
Absolutely, yes. And I love that program myself. Thank you so much for talking about that, Samuel. Thanks for joining us tonight. All right, let's go right away to Jeff in Strasburg. Got Karen and Laura up after. Jeff, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Quick question. I was just wondering how I can tell when my meter upgrade has been performed, when it's been done. I guess you have a contractor, Wesco, that was going to do the work. I just wanted to know how I can tell that it's been done. Thank you.
Yeah, that's going to be hard for you to tell. We do send out notifications when we're in the area doing the upgrades, and so you would know that it's going to be soon. Probably can't look at it easily as a member and identify the differences. So if you were wondering whether it was changed or not, you can call in, and we will have that information recorded that meter was changed out and can let you know that was done. But there's not a real easy way for you to just walk out and look at the meter and tell whether it's been done. But we do try to get the notifications out. We don't just send them out en masse. We try to make sure that they're sent out to the groups of people that we're doing in a more close time frame. So if you've received that notice that we're going to be out changing the meters, you can assume that it should be done in that period of time. And then if you're wondering if it was done, call in and give us a call, and we'll be able to look up on your account on our system and answer that question for you.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Jeff. So right away we have Karen up next in Stewart's Draft. Karen, you're live. Please go ahead with your question.
Hello, thank you. I am a potter, and I fire a kiln, K-I-L-N, in my home, and sometimes it will go for 16 hours. And I was wondering, how could I do that efficiently so I'm not running during peak hours? How do I know when the peak hours are?
That's an outstanding question, and I'm not sure if you were on at the beginning when the moderator was speaking, but they made them aware that tomorrow morning is actually predicted as a peak time. So you can get part of the alert system by joining our Beat the Peak program, but in general, you should be considering wintertime between 6 and 9 a.m. and 6 and 9 p.m., and summertime from 3 to 6 are the windows that you want to primarily stay away from, especially if it's extremely cold weather or hot weather during those times. But if you sign up for our Beat the Peak notifications, you'll get the notifications like the moderator mentioned at the beginning of the call this evening about tomorrow being one of those peak days, or one of those peak options tomorrow morning. Good question, and that's a big way that our members can help on keeping the electricity cost down from the supply side of things, is to not use anything that you can not use while it's peak time will help save money for all the members of the cooperative.
Yes, absolutely. Great question, Karen. I'll repeat a few of those key details again. I know you did, but let me tell you where you can sign up for alerts. Just go to svec.coop. And again, it's a free program that just notifies you, letting you know when there's forecasts for extreme temperatures so that you can adjust your demand and your cost. And as you just heard, you're encouraged to adjust your thermostat lighting and shift the time. This is a big one, that you use your large appliances, and that just holds down the demand of power. So great question. Thanks so much, Karen. And that is really a fantastic service. Just a little reminder, I love getting it to go around and make sure I'm being efficient. Perfect. Let's go right on to Laura, though, in Winchester next. Laura, you're live. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you so much for doing this. This is my first time on here, by the way. So I live on Cedar Grove Road, about 3 miles down near the Radical Church, where that is on the bad turn there. You have the metal power lines that come through on my neighbor's property, and you had originally put roads through there, which I still see, but you've also put 2 bridges in. They're wooden bridges, and they're made of the railroad ties. And my question is through the years, I guess they've broken in half and you can't get over them. I go over there and ride on the property. So I was wondering, are you guys going to fix them ever, or maybe take them out? That was my question. And you can see them from the road. That's my question.
That's a great question, and I'm actually going to we're going to hold your name and call you back. From what you're describing and my knowledge of the area up there, we may be talking about a transmission line, which I think was rebuilt, and they probably had some of those bridges put in as access points as they were doing work on the line. But I'm not 100% sure, and so I don't want to write it off to that without somebody looking. So we'll have somebody from the local Winchester district up there call you and make sure that what you're describing and I'm picking up is indeed maybe the high voltage line there that comes through versus some of the cooperative lines. But from your description, that's what it sounded like. So again, more follow-up, we'll reach out to you directly on that.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And Laura, we have your contact information since we called you, so we'll just note that. Thank you so much. Let's go right away to Walt before we have John. Walt in Harrisonburg, you're live right now. Please go ahead with your question.
Hey there, everyone, and Merry Christmas to all. This is very interesting. I've never participated in this before. I'm a crane contractor, and we used to work in engineering with you guys, Ron Schickel, and we miss those days. Now, getting down to the question, as we have you guys, Shenandoah Valley Electric, and your competition, Dominion Electric, running on the borderline of some of our farms here in the Gackesville, I have asked for years as we need some three-phase electrical service, and you guys have that line, three-phase electrical right here running along the border with, as I said, Dominion only 40 feet away on the other side of the road. And on some of the farms, we need three-phase to run various things. I've asked for years, what can we do to have the three-phase service and to cross the border? And in some cases, only by 40, 50, maybe 100 feet crossing the border. And essentially, we would be coming into Dominion territory. I've understood that this is all controlled by State Corporation Commission, and I understand for good reason they would have boundary confines. But I'm asking tonight, is there any other provision that is in regards to our proximity to this line and our need for three-phase in some of these locations that we could have an exception or an exemption to cross over, get your service, and we would be crossing into Dominion territory? That's the question. What can we do?
Okay, well, thank you for that question. As you mentioned, we are certificated through the State Corporation Commission as to our territories that we have out there. And so we do have territories. There are places where, as you describe, Dominion may be close to the line. There's places where we're close to the line, and there's properties on Dominion's side. From the safety perspective of it, or safety aspect of it, these are all operational concerns that would be very difficult to manage and handle the right protections and make sure that we had the right folks responding at the right time. And so basically the best way to get three-phase would be to indicate your needs, call in for us, and the engineers will come out and say what that would be. I recognize that when you are a long way from the three-phase, then that cost can be higher. But I assure you that as many times as Dominion may be close in this particular instance, we're close in other instances, and the ability to operate the systems with a complex web of lines going back and forth really would cause us some safety issues and would be really difficult to manage. So I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but unfortunately that's kind of the way we would have to operate the system and here in Virginia.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Walt, for that question. Let's go to John before Mary and Susan. John in Star Tannery, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Yes, hello?
Yeah, we got you live, John. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was on there telling you earlier I live here at Star Tannery, next to Strasburg, right outside of Strasburg on Turkey Run Road. And we have a lot of down trees that the tops were cut out by the helicopter, and they're dead now. I'm not saying that's what killed them, but they're dead along the power lines. Y'all got to send a crew out to check, or?
Thank you, John. As you mentioned, we do use the helicopter to trim. We have a couple different versions of the helicopter. One does some horizontal trimming, and recently we've gotten one that'll do some vertical trimming, and recently we've gotten some that'll do some horizontal trimming and pull the tops off of trees as you're talking about, or cut the tops out. We can take a look at that. Honestly, if they were dead before, and the execution that we've done gets them where they're below the power line, then we would probably not do any more than that from a money perspective. But we can get somebody to give you a call and follow through and make sure we understand the situation. Again, very difficult for me to assess some of these from the description, and I don't want to leave a situation that I don't maybe understand. But I do know that is the normal process, and it would be a matter of whether or not the trees still pose a risk after the work is done, as to whether or not we would come back out and take those down.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Great questions. Let's go right away to Mary before Susan and Patrick. Mary in Augusta, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Yes, Merry Christmas, everyone. I am calling about our smart meter, and we got it put in about maybe a year ago, and we noticed that it sends out these flashes. Now, the old meter didn't do this, which means that these flashes have to consume some power, and that we're not using in the house, and so it seems like this would be something that we're being charged for. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Let's go to the room for an answer to Mary's question. Do you guys have us off mute? All right. I am not able to hear. There we go. We got you now. Go ahead.
We good? Are you there? Are you there?
Loud and clear.
All right. Thank you.
So real quick, though,
yeah,
I just have to chuckle and say, if anybody's wondering if we really are live, we really are live. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. We do have information available on our website as to explain some of the nuances about the meters. They are important. The extra usage there is not that is not falling onto your side of the meter. Obviously, the meter is designed to where it's measuring the throughput, and that is not causing it. But read those answers first, and call us back in if you still have a question. I think they may be able to do a better explanation than I may be able to do at this point.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Mary. All right, we've got Susan before Patrick. Susan in Luray are live, or she asked that I read her question. Whoops, sorry about that. Susan wants to know, are there plans to put the lines underground? It seems that that would be a good solution for windy conditions. And again, that's from Susan.
That's a good question. We get that one a lot. It's really a matter of economics. There are a lot of lines that we put underground. There's places where now when you put in underground, you have to recognize that the restoration times extend if that line would go bad, and so we have to put in usually looping or multiple lines where possible with some of the underground. Plus, the underground goes in an extended cost. And unfortunately, we have a few counties where rock is actually in the name, which suggests that we have a lot of rock in our territory itself. So we put all that together, and basically we have found that overhead lines are the cheapest to own and operate. However, we do put underground lines in when we feel it's appropriate. And obviously, if it's ever wanted for the aesthetics side of things, then the member can call in, and we would give a cost for that. But as far as the operations of the lines, it comes down to an economic value. What you'll find is in a lot of the subdivisions that we have across the territory, it's much easier and really required by a lot of the counties to put those lines underground because of the small lot nature and those things. But out going across the mountain, it's very difficult to both operate and maintain underground lines. So I get the question. We do get a lot. It's a great question because you aren't exposed to the weather as bad as with the underground lines as the overhead lines, but there are other inherent problems that you do have to deal with. Great question, though, and really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that answer. Thank you, Susan. We've got Patrick for Mardel, and then Lee. Patrick in Winchester right now. Please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for all the hard work you do in providing all of us with electricity. I don't take it for granted. The question I had mainly had to do with the kind of emergency plan we might have in place to address a catastrophe on the scale of what we saw Hurricane Helene deal Western North Carolina recently. I'm 100% sure we have emergency plans in place. I know it, but given what happened in that disaster, I'm wondering if those plans are being revisited just to try to make sure that we would be prepared in this region for something like that. And I have to say, my dovetailed question was, would we, as part of such a plan, try to proactively bury power lines where feasible, economically and otherwise, just as part of being proactive to try to limit interruption of service if we had such a catastrophe? Thank you.
First of all, Patrick, thank you for your initial comments there. Really appreciate the acknowledgement there for our folks who do work hard to keep everything rolling. Yes, we have many emergency plans. Hurricanes are one thing that hits us here in the valley. We are exposed to a lot of ice storms, wind storms, and other things. And so hurricanes are one version. We do the same preparedness for all the events. Honestly, what we say is that we prepare for these events every day of the year by the maintenance and the practices that we do from a right-of-way perspective. And even considering the things you mentioned, if there is a way to harden a line that goes out multiple times, is constantly a problem, access to it's an issue. We look at all the options that might make that line better and maybe continue service. But we do have an emergency plan for almost everything. We're constantly in review of them, and what I found over my 35 years is that every time we have one of those storms, we learn something from it that we can do better, and we never let that go. We always review that after the fact and make sure that we're constantly evolving and doing the kind of things that we need to. I will say, from what our linemen reported that they saw back at Helene, they brought back a lot of stuff that I have never had to deal with here in the valley, even with some of the major flooding that we had. So we continue to learn from all of that. Our guys brought back a lot of stuff they had learned. They had to do a lot of stuff by hand, and so it helps us reinforce the value of being able to, how we get the work done and making sure we stay sharp on all those skills. But I appreciate your question, and yes, I do believe that we have plans in place, and we have a process of preparedness that we react to and make sure that we're ready with both resources and a plan should a hurricane or any other major event happen with us. Great question, and thank you.
Yeah, so important. Thank you so much, and thanks, Patrick. All right, let's go to Mardel before Lee. Mardel, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Mardel. And first of all, before my question, I want to say, since you folks have taken over in my area, that I have had much better, less power outages, and my line goes up over the mountain. You folks do maintain the over-the-mountain trees so much better, and I have seen the helicopter, so I wanted to give my appreciation on that with you folks. And my question is actually, I don't know if you can tell me which product might be more energy efficient between three, oil-filled electric radiator that heats the oil in the little portable radiator, or a fan-driven little heater, or the baseboard heaters that are on the wall. Of those three, what would be most efficient? Would you be able to tell me that?
Yeah, The ones you mentioned, you want to be very careful, as I kind of mentioned in my comments, of how you're using those. They all have specific uses. With today's modern heating systems, homes that have those systems in them are much more efficient when they're allowed to run and heat the entirety of the house. What I find with a lot of folks is that they'll put the ceramic space heater type heaters in certain places, and they'll try to heat different rooms of their home even when they're not in them, and then their bill skyrockets because those heat sources aren't designed to do that work efficiently. What they are designed well to do and work well is that if you have an area of the house that generally you can keep the rest of the house a little bit cooler, but you have an individual in the house that may be colder natured or something like that, you can use a space heater in close proximity to those people, obviously following all the safety precautions of how close you get, but basically in their general area to make sure that they could stay a little warmer than maybe the rest of the conditions of the house. If that happens, you can save a little bit of money, but you have to be sure that you're using those things to heat the person and not the space. Heat pumps have continued to improve their efficiencies out there, and so they are much more efficient than what a baseboard unit is. But again, people have access to different things, and so I would encourage you to look for a reputable heating and air conditioning contractor. Bring them out, have them look at what you have, and maybe give them some options that could fit within your budget. So I know that everybody has a different ability to, like I say, pull a full system in versus augmenting that system with other heat sources. And I think those folks could help you out a good bit. But be very cautious with the standalone, more space heater type of options. If you do have a home heating system, they are always set up to be more efficient to handle the larger job of heating your home versus the isolated equipment.
Yes, and that is so, I love that tip. Thank you so much. Heat the person. Thank you so much. Great question, Mardell. Glad to have you on. All right, we have Lee up next before Kelly. Lee in Clearbrook. You're live right now. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm a Frederick County resident in Clearbrook, Virginia. I've signed a 25-year contract to have solar panels installed and guaranteed one-to-one net metering with Shenandoah Valley for the life of the service and no peak charges once activated. Is this accurate? Secondly, how do you measure one-to-one net metering? And thirdly, who do you buy your power from other than solar customers that provide you with energy to sell? Does this reduce costs to all customers, all non-solar customers, or increase it?
Lee, thanks for your question. A pretty complex one there when it comes to some of the end questions that you had. We have folks that are experts in that area and probably best to walk you through the options here, but I will tell you we have we don't have a net metering set up where we provided a contract for solar. We have some community solar options. They are not net metering options. And so it sounds like to me you're talking about a solar installer, and we have folks that can help walk through your bill so that you understand truly what the savings should be as if you would implement a system like that. We also have options, as I mentioned, for community solar, which is designed to one of the solar farms in our area where we have the ability. You may not have the ability to put solar at your site, or you may not have the ability to outlay the capital that it requires to put solar at your site. These are ways that people can participate in the solar process through the community solar program, but that is separate from net metering. And so I would encourage you to call in, tell the member service representative you have questions related to solar, and let us help you walk you through that process for your specific instance there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks, Lee. Let's go right away to Kelly before Ghazi. Randy, great questions. We'll just keep going, get it to as many as we can. Kelly in Rileyville, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is the first time I have ever participated in a town hall meeting related to electric co-op. My family, we are new to the area, so mountain living is kind of new to us. So the first question and explanation of why we have so many frequent power surges was very, very helpful. My question really is related to the notification of power outages. When back in Illinois, we also got our electricity through a co-op, and they had a text messaging system that would immediately notify you and then provide you continuous updates if it was going to be an extended power outage. I was just wondering, do we have that option and I'm just not aware of that, or how is there an easier way to get notifications?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yes, we have an SVEC app which you can sign up for, and you can register on that. It lets you report outages as well as receive notifications if you're involved in an outage, as well as it also provides any subsequent information during the outage that may be available. So if you need help with that, it's the SVC app. I'm sure there's some information on our website about that, but also calling in is also an easy way to talk to folks, and they can help you get set up on that option.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Great information. Thanks, Kelly. All right, we've got Randy up next. Actually, let's do, I switched your order around. Randy, we'll get to you in a moment. We've got Ghazi in Shenandoah. You're live right now. Well, actually, I said I read it. Sorry about that. I'm a little scattered. I'm going to be away from my property this winter, says Ghazi. Should I keep the heater on, and at what temperature? They'll be away for 4 months total. It's a great question.
That's a great question. That's really a personal preference question. There are services that would come out and what they call winterize your property. That winterization would allow you to cut either off or way back on the heating that you would be required for that home. So I would suggest you kind of go that route. If you're going to have people popping in and out, that is difficult because as you winterize it, you have to de-winterize it at the end. But if you literally are going to be gone 4 months, the best way to save energy would be to have the property winterized, and that would cut way back on your electrical needs during that period of time.
Great. So good to know. Thank you so much. Great question, Ghazi. Let's go now to Randy right now in Winchester. And then we've got Michelle. But Randy, right now, please go ahead. You're live.
Hi. First, I'd like to say thank you for your service. Ever since you guys have taken over, everything has been really great, to be honest. And I really like the peak power notifications I get. It reminds me to unplug unused items and such in my house. That's wonderful. But getting to my question. My question is, I live in a heavily wooded area, and a lot of my fellow neighbors and myself undergo a lot of issues with power outages, mainly due to high wind regarding tree branches, trees, and such. Of course, I know you guys come through and do a lot of trimming and things like that. Is there certain guidelines or restrictions or anything that to where like a certain tree is maybe too close to a power line that probably should be taken down, just so there aren't issues like per se on my property? I have a very large tree that is half dead. It's probably maybe a foot away from the power line itself. I know it could cause some serious damage, like, how do you guys, go about that? What types of things do you do to, I guess, check it, to be able to check it out and see, like, if maybe a foot or 2 foot or 3 foot, whatever regulations are, on bringing a tree down. I know my grandmother, she also uses she's part of your all's electricity and everything. She gets her stuff. She's actually had a few trees cut down, because they were very close to the power line. But that's my question.
Okay, first of all, Randy, thank you for the comments at the beginning there. I really appreciate that, and certainly pass those along to our employees who work hard to do all the things you said. So thank you for that. This one, I'm familiar with the area up there west of Winchester that you live, and the right-of-ways, there is no specific guidelines. Obviously, we take and keep the trees away as far as we're allowed. That allowance is dictated by the right-of-way that we have for each individual line, and that does vary from time to time. There's some of the mountainous subdivisions where, due to the roads that go up through there, the line goes back and forth across the road, which tends to make the trees on the property side much tighter to the line than obviously on the roadside. So we would have to come out and take a look. Now, we do come out and look, and there are times, again, we're very conscious on cost, and we've heard a lot of folks here tonight ask questions about how to keep the cost down. We will look at a tree and make an expert call on whether or not that tree would make it until our next cycle, because if we don't have to run out a specific truck to run just to get that tree, we're going to be able to do things a lot more efficiently. However, if there appears that, a windstorm or something really could cause that to come into the line sooner rather than later, then we'll make those calls as we need to. But we're not allowed to cut anything outside of our right-of-way that we have in conjunction with each line. We will occasionally, if there are very imminent trees that pose an imminent danger outside that, while we're there cutting other trees, we will occasionally work with the property owner to get those down. But in most cases, that is we are bound by the width of the right-of-way that is determined for the line itself. So there's no really special guidelines. If you've got something as close as you described, probably should give us a call and have us come out and look and make that determination.
Great. Thank you so much, Randy. And I'm being told, too, that Joyce, you had a similar question as well. So thanks so much for bringing that on, Randy, for you and others as well. Let's go right away to Michelle in Morristown. Michelle, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Hello, good evening. I have a home in Morristown, and I have a question regarding power outages, which initially when I got the home, I started to think it was glitches until I was informed by neighbors that this happens often in the area. I was wondering if it could be something further that needs to be looked into by your company pertaining to the lines or the meters themselves versus it being an animal or trees, which I don't see any of the trees that are on the lines, at least on my property, causing a problem.
This is, thank you for your question. This is something that it's hard to give a general guidance, but I think I mentioned a little bit earlier about the frequency of that. If you, certainly a day like today where the wind, it was very breezy, windy conditions, if you have those kind of trips on days like today, probably our system acting as they should. If you have the occasional trip, especially on fall, early mornings, that tends to be squirrel activity. If you find there's an ongoing thing, and I'm talking about like multiple trips a week, several trips in a short period of a multiple week time frame, give us a call on those, because those can be other equipment issues, kind of like what you described, where we want to make sure that something is not going bad. Occasionally, a insulator or another device on the line may get hit by lightning, and it causes these sporadic type of outages until we're able to find it. And so it is important to call those in. But if you do find that it is during the time frames where there is like wind and some stuff that could be causing limbs to blow, if they don't become frequent, it's better to let those ride. That helps us keep the cost down of coming out and basically saying, hey, that probably was the windstorm. But we have problems that occur like you described, and we do come out and we patrol the line. The guys look very close at it, and they'll look for those kinds of equipment failures that may be occurring and happening on a sporadic basis. Thank you for your question.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Michelle. And that has taken us right up to the end of our allotted time. My goodness, time flies when you're having fun. We had such great questions. Now, we did get to as many questions as we possibly could. However, if you still do have a question, please stay on until the very end of the call here. In just a moment, you'll be able to leave us a voicemail message. And if you'd like us to reach back out to you, make sure to leave your contact information and spell it out very slowly. And again, that's here in just a moment. But with that, before we end here, I want to just turn this back over to our President and CEO, Greg Rogers, for just a few closing remarks.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all for your great questions tonight. I appreciate them. I've heard a couple of times as I've asked questions that the answers to one person's question has helped another person. Again, don't be shy about calling us. Our member services reps are ready and willing to help, along with our operational folks, depending on what your question is. So I do appreciate all of you. I appreciate the kind comments made tonight relative to our hardworking folks out there that make sure that your power stays on each and every day. And so thank you so much for your participation this evening. It's an important part of our cooperative process. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, so much. Until next time, stay well and